for the last 26 years, this 1971 Plymouth Duster has lay neglected, a 5-star resort for pack rats. I don't think it deserves that. In today's video, let's see if we can get this thing running for the first time since 1998. I've got to give it to it. I don't know if you'd call this Hemi Orange, but Hemi Orange 71 Duster. What a cool car. And it's actually rusty, but not too rusty for what we're used to working with. Now, what would be really fun is if this was a V8. It is not. We like our 6 cylinders. And this one's got some goodies. As we see, big header, full dual exhaust, Offenhauser 4-barrel, Offenhauser valve cover, big old crazy Excel super coil. I think you can still get those, but most people don't run stuff like that anymore. Tons of pack rat nest in here. Starters pulled off. More than likely, just an original 225, slap covered in really cool goodies. But I see a pretty fresh freeze plug. It would be really neat if that motor's been hopped up. There's only one way to find out though. Let's go ahead, take a few minutes, get all of this mess cleaned out of here. These pack rats just bury stuff down in every little nook and cranny. Get this carburetor covered up, blow everything off. See if we can find a dip stick. I don't want to dig in that without gloves. I think it's supposed to be over here. We'll try not to push it off into the hole. This one has the custom no dipstick. Well, that right there is where it's supposed to go. We'll try to vacuum, and actually we should probably get everything else clean while it's covered, and then we'll see if we can get to it. Well, that definitely makes things... I cannot talk today. Well, that definitely makes things seem a little bit more... What was I gonna say? I don't even know what I'm gonna say now. What was I gonna say, y'all? Well, that definitely makes things seem a little bit more manageable, but we still need to get down in this dipstick hole. So I'm gonna run the vacuum on it, poke it out, and try to suck up at the same time, so hopefully nothing gets pushed down in the oil pan. Well, that got it. And what's nice is looking down in the hole, you can actually see red or orange silicone from the oil pan being installed. And I bet that caught most of that junk going from down in there and kind of just created a nice little packed in dirt glob that we were able to suck out of there. Let's go ahead and run a new dipstick down in it and see what it looks like down there. Here's our new Buick dipstick. It just has to go a little ways in there. Nice. It's not bad though, no water. Good, good, good. Let's go ahead and get these spark plugs pulled. Dad said, why did I say whew, when I was talking about, after I smelled the oil, I said, it just smells like old oil. Dad said, weird that you'd call oil old. I guess it's a couple million years old. We'll obviously be checking firing order anyways, but it doesn't hurt just to have a baseline as far as what came off of here. Cylinder number 1 is not bad. What a funky looking plug.
Oh yeah, it's a split fire.
Split fire. I have never seen a split fire. Couple little strands from condensation, but not crusty at all. Somebody just went all out with this thing. Split fire plugs, what in the world? Is that still a thing? I've never, was that a thing back in the day? You remember that, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff split fires on your Cougar?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Oh yeah.
This thing's a hot rod. Number 2, exceptional. Number 3, oh man, not bad at all. Number 4, nice. 5, beautiful. So far, I guess the only one that had maybe some valves open was number 1 with that. So I expect probably 6 to be on that same stroke. So if we have another ugly one, it'll be 6. Hopefully it's pretty. Yep, sure enough, little bit of condensation, just like I thought, same stroke. Some of the better looking spark plugs I have seen in a long time. I think we need to blast it full before we start trying to turn this over. And turning it over, first thing we're gonna do is put a socket on that crank. We don't wanna just throw a starter on this thing, start trying to whir it over. I wanna feel it in case we have a harsh snag. I feel better being safe than sorry. So let's go ahead and soak those cylinders down, let it sit for just a little bit, get a socket on there, and see if this thing turns over. I'm glad Dad's watching me. We'd have had a double stack crush ring there. Blast this thing full and let it marinate a bit. We've let it soak for a bit. Now, slant 6s apparently don't use a bolt in the front, they're just press fit in. So I'm gonna take a screwdriver. That's not too shabby. I'd like to get a nice full revolution. I was grabbing that, that goofy starter plate. That's nice, that makes me feel good. I think we're gonna make this thing run. Plenty of spinning around with no hiccups or snags. Now before we throw a starter on here, we're gonna go ahead and pick one up, but let's go ahead and drain this oil. You know, as soon as we start turning that thing over, all that crud that is sat down on the bottom of that pan is gonna start pumping through this thing. It's cheap insurance. Let's go ahead and pull the drain plug, drain it out, put fresh in. If we can get this thing running, we can run it a bit and then we can change it again. Old and dark, but no sludge, no moisture. Can't complain with that. There it goes. It started moving. Oh my goodness. Oh, my hands are done. Your turn.
This is a good thing.
Careful, don't bust your knuckles. Oh, it's just a little at a time. Thing's been on there a long time.
My knuckles were popping.
See, talk about drain back.
Yeah, they're just dry as anything. Surprisingly. Yeah.
I guess there's no pre-lube in this filter. We just make sure our O-ring's oiled. We can slide it back on. Digging through our parts stash because of course we have too many extra parts, but sometimes it works out nicely. We were able to dig out a slant 6 starter. This was off of a Correct Craft little ski boat that had a slant 6 in it. Let me rephrase that. This was ordered for that. It was completely the wrong one. But it looks like it's gonna fit here. And looking at this plate, the little dust shield, it was rubbing right up on there. Makes you wonder how it got pushed back in there or something, or maybe they let it drop somehow. Maybe that's a reason it was parked. You never know with cars go from owner to owner sometimes. You never get the full backstory. And I bet that right there was making an awful racket. I just want to get another one here, huh? I think I made it a lot worse. Well, that's just got a bit too much extra material after it had been rubbed like that. I don't think there's any way to get it really straight. And I'm sure that's something we can find. Trigger. You ready? Doesn't have any compression. We'll fix our no compression with spark plugs. Got some new auto lights that'll go in here for now. I thought about putting some split fires back in here, and well, it turns out that goofy spark plug right there, that company was shut down in 1997 due to false advertisement. Apparently they were really bad about pre-detonation and other stuff that could potentially destroy your engine, and they did. They got shut down because of it. So those have been in there since probably before 1997, I would say. And we're not going to be putting new ones in. We need to see, I wonder if this has electronic ignition in it. We hadn't even opened the distributor. Let's go ahead and open this distributor up first, see what everything looks like. The mice decided the wire looked like a tasty meal, and so we're gonna have to fix that anyways and see if we can get some fire. Nope, points and condenser. Very clean distributor cap. Points don't look horrible. It's a little gross down in there. And obviously, we got to redo this wire right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just pull our points. I found that's the best way to get them cleaned up, is just pull them, clean them up, and then stick them back in there. And so we'll take and whew, see all that crust. I always try to use old stuff first because new stuff is nothing like this old stuff. Take a brass wire brush. Cleaned up pretty nicely. Let's see if we make a connection. Got our voltmeter. We'll ohm it out. Make it, break it, make it, break it. That's all those got to do. Now we just hope our condenser functions. And we're looking for 20 to 23 thousandths gap. Right there. Open and closing nicely. Let's go ahead and get all our wires hooked up. See if we got fire. Everything back together there. Hot wire for the coil. Let's see if this super is super. Yeah, it didn't seem like super excessive, but it's firing, so that's what we need. They were just running the standard 35 thousandths, which is what we'll run until we maybe put electronic ignition or something in this thing. Just gonna go ahead and start running these plugs in, but before we do that, we should probably go ahead and check our TDC, mark our timing mark. We don't know exactly what maybe they had done or where they were at with this thing. So we wanna go ahead and do that just so we have a good baseline. So let's go ahead and get our camera at number 1. Let's get it up on TDC with both of our intake and exhaust valves closed. Look for our timing mark and get it marked. Why are you yelling at me, bro? We're trying to film here. Darn birds. Well, we're not gonna use that camera. I think we need a new camera, Dad.
Do you feel better?
I feel a lot better. I guess a Phillips screwdriver should work pretty well. We're actually close, but we're on the exhaust stroke because one's gonna be, let me see where they had one. Is this 2, 1? Yep, 1 is where it's supposed to be. So we're almost directly across if you want to spin us around. Oh, right there. We seeing any marks? Yep, your marks are coming around. And piston just breached. Timing marks. We'll clean this up really quick. And then that is facing right where 1 is. Perfect, so timing is set. Now it may not be correct, but once we attempt to get it running, if it does run, we can tweak it a little bit because we'll go ahead and clean everything up and get a mark on there. We've got compression, we've got fire, and now we need fuel. We might as well go ahead and pull this carburetor. Obviously it's been sitting here for no telling how long with all of the rats and everything, with no air cleaner on top of it. So let's go ahead and pull it. We just want to make sure there's nothing down in the intake. Yep, that's why I wanted to pull it. Now, we could go ahead and rebuild that carburetor. It looks like it needs a lot of work with frozen butterflies and everything. But we have this one that we just ran the Buick on, getting it fired up. And we know that it's a good carburetor. It could probably use a kit as well, but it should be good enough to see if this thing will run. I think we all knew what kind of fuel system we'd have here. For anyone that's new or attempting to get stuff going yourself, I was a boat mechanic for 7 years, and so we always had a boat tank around, and it's just an easy way to be able to have fuel, run it up to your carburetor without splashing stuff everywhere. You know, you can throw this in the trunk, and sometimes a temporary solution like a boat tank becomes a permanent one when it works well. Before we try to pop it off, we need to go ahead and loop these transmission lines. They were snacked on a little bit, So this had mud dauber in it, and I wanted to vacuum it out. We pulled trans fluid, so that's a good sign. Y'all ready to see what happens? Let's see if this baby will fire to life. Let's get some fuel. Carb full. Gas spritzing. Choke. Always nervous. Y'all ready? Yeah! Sounded good. Pumping oil strong. Straight up mouse nest, gross. This thing sounds great though. Might even have a little bit of a cam in it. Pumping oil strong though. Sitting there idling. How cool is that? Well, we don't want to run it too long without a cooling system. This thing is alive. It sounds pretty good. Definitely neat. All of this on a slant 6-cylinder. You just don't see stuff like this very often. I'm pretty excited for this one though, and so excited that this thing is fired back to life. I think our next step, let's go ahead and start figuring out our cooling system. But before we do that, there'd be no point working on a completely nasty engine. Let's clean everything up. Let's bag it up, tape it up. That alternator is completely shot, so we're not too worried about it. But everything else, let's degrease, aluminum brighten, and clean everything up really good in here. And then we'll start taking care of this cooling system, because we definitely want to run it a bit longer. Definitely not perfect, being just a quick cleanup there, but tremendously better. It definitely gets me excited seeing that original EV2 popping back through on the inner fenders there. Cannot wait to start cleaning this car. With that engine cleaned up, let's go ahead and get that water pump pulled off so we can get a fresh one put in there. We just do not want to take a chance with something that simple cooking this engine. Yummy. It didn't hurt pulling that. Thermostat looks perfect. Exactly the way I would have expected it to look.
That's glad.
That's exactly the way I'd have done it. Yeah, really glad they had it taped off. Set my torque. I guess the reason this may have been pulled apart is that dampener is about to go off into orbit, but you know, it'll be okay for now. Well, it's kind of walked back a little bit. Definitely gonna need a new damper. I'm gonna get one on order, but it's probably gonna be at least 4 or 5 days before we get it in here. We want to run this thing a bit more. We'll be careful. Thank goodness this thing had the radiator, because who knows how tough it would have been to find one. Is that a hole? We might have to do a little JB welding really quick. Mouse nest, literally just right here. The rest of it looks pretty good. Let's rinse it out, dry it up, scuff it up, and JB weld it. Hopefully it'll at least do good enough to get us going here. We got one little leak right there. I think I've pretty well come to the conclusion we will never win with a radiator. The JB Weld set up pretty good, but I guess I should have looked, because that's not even the right radiator to this car. Anywho, This is a Mustang radiator, something like a 67 V8. If you can't tell, this is the one that ate fan on the Ranchero 4x4. And it ought to hold coolant for us so we can run this thing a bit. It's literally like it was made for it. That's crazy. Now my only concern is if this thing blows up or something, folks are gonna blame it on the Ford radiator. Not too bad. All right, it's full. With the cooling system addressed, let's fire this thing back up and actually get to run it here a little bit. I think that one muffler's packed full. Really? Because one side's normal and then the other side's like real poppy. We'll clear it out once it warms up a little bit. Noisy old solid lifters. Did a little looking. Apparently these slant sixes were solid lifters until like 1981. This engine is actually a 1968. Looking at numbers, so that makes sense. I think that one, woo, golly, that's gross. I think that one side's got some clog. It'll light up here in a minute. That's cool. I mean, that's not bad for a 6-cylinder, is it? What do you think? What is this? Well, that's got to be the coolest darn thing. What is happening, man?
What do you think? How you doing?
You cool on this?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
What is this? Is this a deuce and a half? Is that what this is?
5-ton.
It's a 5-ton.
Just a little heavier.
It looks a lot bigger. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. Good grief. I'm 6 foot tall. That is the coolest. How's this thing do on the road?
It does
Like you'd expect it to?
It does a good 65. Yeah. A good 65.
65?
A good 65. Yeah.
I don't do 40 in the F350. Is this not the coolest thing?
Hey, 1986, 350.
There you go. Good grief. How tight does this thing turn? It takes about a country mile.
It's got a very tight turning radius, we'll call it.
Sorry.
You're good.
It's funny, I'm used to like driving anything bigger than a half ton, old wise.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, this is air brake, so it's like, whoop.
Oh, it's touchy, but it's good. You'll get a feel for it. It's a little bit weird of a shift, but it shifts kind of high.
I got you.
It's like a drag car.
That's cool. How do you drive on the road with other cars?
It's like driving a garbage truck.
I hadn't driven many garbage trucks. That's a full-size pickup truck down there.
So I think this truck's on 53s, I think.
That's awesome. Dude, I appreciate it, man. This is one of the coolest things I've ever driven. And it's so much easier than...
Right?
It's not what you think. I mean, it feels like I'm driving a Corolla. Not really. What an unexpected treat. That was so awesome. Well, that is going to wrap it up. That little 6-cylinder, I say little, 225 cubic inch 6-cylinder is running awesome. But tell me what you think. Be different, 6-cylinder, get this car going the way that it is, or does it need a V8? We like stuff that's a little different. I definitely think we'll start with dialing in that 6-cylinder in our next video, build the brakes, get some wheels and tires on this thing, clean it up, and take it for a spin. But I really hope you all have enjoyed. And if you have, be sure to subscribe button and notification bell to keep up with future uploads on this rebuild and our other ones. And if you have been a part of the channel, we do appreciate it so incredibly much. That's gonna wrap it up. Peace out. Catch you all on the flip side.